What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to another Swift video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at CollectionView supplementary views, otherwise known as headers and footers. So here we've got the app we're going to put together. We've got a cool header up here with our own image in it. We've got our 9 cells, and then we've also got a footer down here where we show a gradient. So we'll talk about how to register these supplementary views, how to have multiple headers of different kinds of different sections, sizing, footers, layout, all that good stuff. So get excited. Make sure you destroy the like button down below for the YouTube algorithm, as always. And subscribe while you're at it if you're a returning viewer and haven't done so already. Obviously helps the channel grow so we can all grow together. Get Xcode ready, get excited, and let's dig into some CollectionView headers and footers. Quick pause before we get into the video. If you haven't seen it already, I am hard at work putting together iOSacademy.io, a community where all of us iOS engineers can come together, learn how to build some of the top apps like Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, in addition to interview prep to land some of these iOS roles at top tech companies. So if you're interested in the free and premium content to come, head on over to iOSacademy.io and enter your email address in the waitlist form, and you will be notified as content becomes available. That said, let's get into the video. All right, let's begin by opening up Xcode and creating a new project. We'll stick with the app template, and I'm going to go ahead and call this CollectionView supplementary views. Make sure your language is Swift, Lifecycle UI Kit, and interface is Storyboard. Go ahead and continue, and we'll save it to our desktop. And before we get into the weeds of the code, and once Xcode decides to stop being slow, we're going to pick a simulator from our list here. Let's stick with the 11 Pro Max. Let me expand my window here. And let's jump into our XC assets. I went ahead and grabbed 2 images from Google Images. Go ahead and grab 2 images or follow along without the images, but we're going to create 2 image sets in here by right-clicking and clicking image set. So the first one we're going to call gradient, and we're going to simply drag in this guy right here. And the next one we're going to create, we're going to call header. And we're going to drag this guy right in as well. And then we can expand our Xcode window and get into our headers and footers. So you can actually go ahead and hit the run button to get the app compiled and showing up in the simulator here like so. Should be fairly quick. So cool. So before we actually talk about the header and footer supplementary views, we need to create a collection view. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is simply say private var, we can say let's collection view. Collection view is a UI collection view with a frame and a layout. Frame will be 0 to start off with, and the layout here is going to be a UI collection view flow layout. Now that we have this created here, let me go ahead and put that on a new line so it looks a little nicer. We can go ahead and add it as a sub view right here in view.load. And we can go ahead and give this guy a delegate as well as a data source. Go ahead and assign that to self, and we're going to need to, of course, conform to those protocols. But before we do so, let's go ahead and override view did layout subviews. Go ahead and call super. Oh no, I can't type today. Super.view did layout subviews. And we want to give the collection view a frame. So we're going to say its frame is the view controller's view.bounds. And let's go ahead and conform to both of these protocols so those errors go away. So we've got UI collection view delegate and UI collection view data source. And we also want UI collection view delegate flow layout. And these errors should go away. We should have some more errors up here because there are 2 required functions we need to bring in for the data source. Click the error and hit fix, and it'll automatically stub them out for you, just like that. Go ahead and paste them. For number of items, let's return 8. And for the actual item, let's just go ahead and return a, let's say cell is a UI collection view cell. Just go ahead and return it. Of course, this is not the appropriate way to do this, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at the correct way in just a moment. But once we have this, hit Command R to make sure things are building and running. And let's see, why are we crashing? We're crashing because we probably don't have a identifier registered, cell returned with a different identifier. Yep. So what we need to basically do is create and register a cell here. So what I'm going to do is create a new file here, right click, new file. We want a Cocoa Touch class. It'll be a subclass of a UI collection view cell. We can just call it my collection view cell. Go ahead and create it. Add a identifier on here, which will be a static identifier, just like that. Head back to your view controller. And on the collection view, we want to go ahead and register this for a cell. So we're going to say register the class we made .self for the class.identifier. And then down here, instead of returning a random collection view cell, we can say this is collection view dequeue reusable cell with this .identifier for our index path. And we can simply go ahead and return it. And let me just go ahead in the cell and override the initializer with a frame. And we'll go ahead and set a background color to this guy just so we can see it a little better. We'll see the background color is link. And let's see, this is complaining down here because we need to bring in the required initializer. So just go ahead and hit the error and hit fix. Just like that. Hit Command R and your app should not be crashing now, hopefully. Awesome. So we've got our cells here. We've got our collection view, which is black. There's no background color set to it. I believe we're in light mode, so it's not a dark mode issue. But now we can talk about the header and footer, and then we'll also style up these collection view cells to look a little nicer. So let's go back to our view controller. And here where we're setting up a collection view, the way that basically headers and footer work with a collection view is very similar to how a cell works. So here we're registering a cell class for the given cell identifier. Similarly, you want to register a UI collection reusable view for the collection view's either header, supplementary view, or footer. And every section can have its own header or footer. So that's the key difference here, where you're not really specifying the collection's header and footer for the global collection view, but it's on a section by section basis. So what do we need to do? Well, the first thing we need to do is create one of those reusable views. So we're going to create a new file, and it's going to be, again, a Cocoa Touch subclass, and it's going to be a UI collection reusable view. And I'm going to go ahead and call it header collection reusable view. Go ahead and create it. And let's just be lazy and copy and paste this right down below. And we'll call this one footer, since we're going to want one for the footer as well. And let me go ahead and rename this file so it's not really misleading. Let's just drop header out of here. And on both of these, we're going to want an identifier so we can register it to our collection view. So let's go ahead and create an identifier just like that. And another one just like that. And on both of them, we can actually go ahead and override the initializer with a frame. Make sure you bring in that required initializer as well. And let's see, we are going to want to eventually override layout subviews. So just go ahead and override it for now. And let's be lazy and copy and paste all this stuff. Let's see, this is complaining because we are using the wrong one here. That should be frame. take this and throw it into this guy as well. And let's head back to our view controller. So now in our view controller, like I mentioned, we need to register both of these cell classes that we've created, these reusable view classes rather. So similarly, we're going to say CollectionView. We want to register a view class for a supplementary view kind. So the first one we're going to register is the header CollectionView.self. The supplementary kind is going to be either header or footer. And that's on the collection view. You can say collection view. There's element kind header and element kind footer. So we'll say element kind header. And then we want to pass in the reuse identifier, which is the class name dot identifier, which is the static property we added. If you don't register it and try to use the view, similarly to what you saw in the beginning, where I didn't register a cell, your app is going to crash. Let's go ahead and copy and paste this and change all these header references to footer, just like that. And make sure you also change this to be footer. And an important call out I'll mention here is you can register multiple classes to be headers. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying of every section can have its own unique header. So in this case, we just have one section, but we'll take a look at 2 or 3 different sections. So cool, so now that we have this set up here, we can override some CollectionView functions that can go ahead and return a header and dequeue it similar to how we dequeue this cell down here. Let me just line break this to make it look a little cleaner. And let's just put CollectionView here. So what do we need to override? What we need to override is view for supplementary view. So if you take a look at this function, it's basically going to try to dequeue a view based on a kind. So what we can literally do here is we can say if the kind is UICollectionView element kind header, basically go ahead and return the header here. Otherwise, return the footer. So how do we actually return the header? So we can say let header is CollectionView dequeue reusable supplementary view. Kind is simply the kind that comes in from the function parameter. And the reuse identifier is going to be the header CollectionView.identifier. And the index path also comes from the function itself. And we can actually go ahead and simply put return right there. And that'll dequeue and return that header. And similarly for the footer, kind is still kind. The only thing that changes here is footer. And let's see, go ahead and hit Command R, and let's see if it builds on what we get in our simulator. So it looks like we are building, but we don't see our header or footer. The reason for that is we need to specify a size for the header and footer. So to do that, we're going to override another function, and this function is related to the layout. So this is going to be reference size, and there's 2 of these. One is for the header and one is for the footer. So go ahead and override the first one. You'll see this one is reference size for header. And let's just go ahead and return a CG size with a width of view.frame.size.width. And the height, we'll go ahead and say view.frame.size.width over, I don't know, 3. Or we can do over 2. It's probably a little better. Let's go ahead and override the other one as well, which is reference size for footer. And for this one, we can go ahead and copy and paste this. And I'm just going to go ahead and change the height to just be the width instead of dividing it. Now go ahead and hit Command R, and you're going to now start seeing space. So here is our header space, and there is actually footer space down here, but we're just not seeing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into both of those classes we created here in this file, and we're going to add images to both of these so we can actually see them on our view. So the first thing is going to be a image view, and this is going to be an image view. We're going to create an image view directly in here with an image. This is going to be an image with a name, and this is why we brought in images into our assets. So on the header, we are going to show header, and here we're going to say return image view, and we're also going to have this have a content mode to scale aspect fill. You want to make sure it also clips to bounds. Here in the initializer, you're going to add subview for the image view. And in the layout subviews here, you're going to say image view.frame is bound. So it's the entirety of the view. And actually, we can just copy and paste and replace all this stuff. And the only thing that's going to change here is the footer is going to have gradient. So go ahead and hit Command R to build and run. And now you'll see that we have our gradient here and we have our image view for the header right here. So looking pretty good. So that's how you basically add headers and footers, but let's go ahead and style up these cells themselves so they look a little more appropriate. And our footer is kind of obnoxiously large. So let's go to our view controller and decrease that a little bit. One thing I'll mention here is right now we basically hard-coded images into our header and footer, but let's say you had a view model or a model that you wanted to use to construct these views. What you could do is you can say let header equals, for example, that class. You can cast it as whatever you would like to cast it as. And you can actually say guard here to make sure that it does get casted appropriately. If it doesn't get casted appropriately, you'll simply fall back to returning a standard reusable view. And if it does, let's say on the header, you had a function on here called configure with model. So let's say we had configure with model, and we'll just pass in a bool for now. Let's pass in, we'll pass in a bool for now. We'll say, let's call this color. We'll say, let me actually change this to show color. We'll say if show color, we're going to say image view is hidden is true, and background color is, let's do system red. So if we go ahead and pass in true there, we're going to go ahead and do that. And now because we casted it, we can actually say header.configure with true. And if you go ahead and run it, you'll see now these views now become configurable. Looks like we're crashing here. Let's take a look at what broke. Something definitely broke. Could not dequeue that cell. Let's see why not. So this is a header, and we're trying to cast it here as a header. We're saying cell because it would be a fantastic idea if we went ahead and returned the header. So don't forget to add your return statement there. And now you can see based on this configure function, we're passing in some information. So if you had a model or a view model, you can go ahead and pass it in just like that. So anyways, going back to styling up our cells a little bit more in the collection view, go ahead and line break these. Let's go ahead and divide our footer by 2. And let's go ahead and implement some more layout functions here. So the first one I'm going to do is enter item spacing, and we're simply going to return 1. We're going to say line spacing. We're going to also return 1 here. And let's see, we're going to say the insets we want to also set. I believe they're section insets. So we're going to say return UI edge insets. 1, 1, 1, and 1. And then finally, we want to return the size for the given cell. So we're going to say there should be a CollectionView size function on here, which is, I believe this one here, size for item. And this one also, you return a CG size with a width and a height. So we're going to go ahead and say view.frame.size.width divided by 2. And we're going to subtract 3 for the margin that we've given. If you go ahead and run, you'll see that our collection view looks much nicer now. So let's see what's going on here. Looks like I got a typo. Go ahead and hit Command R to run. And now you'll see that we have these large squares, and we've got our footer down there, and we've got our header, and it just looks much nicer. So if we had a way to configure these cells, which I won't bore everyone through, it would definitely be a much more niftier collection view. So let's actually divide these by 3, and let me show you guys multiple sections. This way we'll have, I think, we'll have 3 columns. So let's go ahead and do that. Cool, we see 8 of those there. Let's just return 9 cells for the sake of it being even. And let's also add some sections. Let's go ahead and return 3 sections. And every single section now will have the same header and footer, you'll see. However, based on the section down here, because the function passes in what section it wants a header or footer supplementary view right in the parameter here. Let's see, right here in index path. You could, in theory, go ahead and check the section on here, right? If index path dot section is whatever, you can return a different header or footer. Another question which people often ask is, well, this parameter, or rather this return type, is not optional. So what if you only want to show a section for a given, or a header for a given section? The answer is just go ahead and return a basic collection view reusable view. And the way you would control it not showing up is you would return a different height reference size for the given section header or footer. So for example, here I can say if the section is 1, we're going to return .0. So if you go ahead and run that, you'll see that the height for the second section here, so index 1, is 0. So while we are returning a header, we're not going to show it because the height is 0. And yeah, that's basics to how you would implement headers and footers, aka supplementary views for your collection view. So collection views can get pretty intricate, and I've got a bunch of videos coming up talking a lot more about them. If you enjoy the video, make sure you destroy the like button, so that'll let me know that A, you guys found it helpful, and B, that I did a decent job explaining it. If you've got any questions, leave them down below. I love hearing from you guys. I love answering questions. Let me know if you guys use collection views. Just say hi down below also if you want to. I love hearing from you guys in general. Helps out with the video engagement as well. Subscribe if you haven't done that already either for daily Swift uploads. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.